Sacha, welcome to meet us and to meet the fans, because it's really important that you make time for this since we're in quarantine in Belgium. I suppose the same is happening in America now, in LA.
Yeah, same here. We've been in the house now 5 or 6 weeks. We're all doing what we can to try to flatten the curve and make things better around here.
And are the restrictions severe? Are you allowed to go out to shop, to jog, to sports?
Yeah, in California, the essential shops are open, like the grocery stores and the hospitals and the pharmacies and things like that, and restaurants that will do takeaway food only. Mm-hmm. For the most part, we stay inside. Maybe once a day, we take a bike ride as a family around the neighborhood, making sure to keep the social distancing. And yeah, we just trying to keep them entertained, and I'm trying to keep fit. So it's difficult to do any sport. Most of the fields are locked up, so I'm doing a lot of running in the street around my house. We are given a program every week from Monday to Friday, and we have been giving a heart rate monitor that we wear that attaches to our phone. And we have a workout to follow, and it tracks all of our movements with the GPS. And then at the end, we have to send in all of our data to our fitness coach. And then almost every night, he's writing us to make sure, being hard on us, that we are not doing enough or we're not pushing ourselves. But it's been very good. We also have a Zoom call with the coaching staff every once in a while, just to keep in touch and talk through some things. It's nice to stay connected during this time, because when we're all alone, I think we all miss the environment of the locker room. We are home now, and the first few months was really nice. We were seeing family every weekend, grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. They were in our house all the time. So now for 5-6 weeks, we haven't seen anybody. Minus last week was my daughter's 6th birthday, and my wife arranged a drive-by birthday party for her. So all of our extended family that lives in California, they drove by the front of the house and made a little bit of a parade for her.
To you, what is the difference in level between our league, the Jupiler Pro League, and the MLS? Because it's getting better, right, in the MLS?
Yeah, I think the level is very similar. So in Belgium, you have a lot of talented young players who are trying to make a name for themselves, who are very good. And the league in Belgium is a little bit more defensive and a little bit more tactical. So many teams are organized against the ball, how to play without the ball, how to defend very well. Whereas in the States, the tactics are not as good, but you have a lot of big name players who come and play here, who are making a huge salary, who are very talented players like Carlos Vela. We had Sebastian Giovinco came here, who was a superstar, Thierry Henry, world names in football who come to the States to play. So the level is very similar when you look throughout the league. I think the top teams in Belgium and the top teams in the States would be very competitive, but totally two different styles.
You played with 2 new Anderlecht players, Amir Murillo and Kemar Lawrence. Yeah. Give us a word about them.
Yeah, Kemar I played with for 3 years, so I know him very well. I've kept in good contact with him. I've tried to give him some advice when he first came to Anderlecht. Amir, I think I only played with for 1 season, but also a very good player. Both outside backs. Kemar, more experienced, has played a lot of games, has captained his national team. Man, this guy can run like crazy. He's so fast and he tackles so hard. So I think when he plays against the right winger and he's the left back, he makes sure that right winger will get no space for 90 minutes, and then he can run all day. Amir is a little bit more better with the ball, maybe a better passer. Can attack a little bit more and send good crosses, but both very experienced players, and I think will be very good additions for Anderlecht.
You played with big stars, and you play with big stars now, like Pavon and Chicharito, who plays for Man United. Who is the best player you ever played with?
Whenever I'm asked this question, it always comes back to me is Mbarek Boussoufa. I think he was the most talented player I played with. I only got to play with him for 1 season in Anderlecht, but his quality was above everyone else's, in my opinion. But there are a lot of guys that are very close to him. So For me, also, Biglia and Suarez were both very talented. When Matias was at the top of his game, he was unstoppable in Belgium. Mbokani in different moments was unstoppable for almost 2 years there. So I've played with a lot of good players, but Boussoufa for me was always my favorite.
Your football afterlife, do you think about it already? Would you like to be a coach or maybe an agent? Or
I've started to think about a few things. So last year during the playoffs, I was invited by the MLS to be a guest analyst during the playoff game. So I did some work on TV. That's interesting for me, but I'm not sure yet. I've also started to think about coaching in the last few years. I've started to keep a notebook of all the training sessions I liked from all the coaches that I had over the years, and trying to take my favorite parts of every coach I've played for to try to see how I would be as a coach or as a leader. And then also I've thought about working, my brother works in the front office department of the LA Galaxy, about maybe working in scouting or becoming a sporting director one day. So I will stay involved with football. That's 100% sure. This is always going to be the big part of my life besides my family. So I'm not 100% sure what I will do.
Would you like to come back to Europe in football?
I would. I think if I became a coach, then my drive inside me will always push me to want to be the best I possibly can be. Like, when I came to Anderlecht to play, and I think coaching in Europe would be the highest level. So my wife always says to me that no matter what I do after football, she thinks I will have an even better career than I did as a player. So if I become a coach, I think it would be only natural that I would want to one day coach in Europe as well.
What is your best memory of your period at Anderlecht?
I think the most memorable thing would be winning my first title, because that was the first time I had won a championship. Previously in my career in Chivas, we had never won a title. So it was during my second season, and of course the game is the game in the playoffs at home against Bruges when Guillaume Gillet scores the penalty, and 5 minutes of extra time and we become champions. The feeling that I had of being a winner and putting all the work in that season to become champion, that was very special, something I'll never forget.
How was that for you to play European Cups?
That was a dream come true, because there's only a select few Americans who have played so many games in Champions League. I think, I'm maybe 4th or 5th all time in Americans that have played Champions League games. So I grew up watching Champions League, and with the time difference, the game's always in the late evening in Europe. It was in the early afternoon in California. So I would race home from school, and I would usually be able to watch the second half of the Champions League games. And my brother and I, we always watched Champions League growing up. It's the pinnacle of football in Europe. So for me to play, my first game was away against AC Milan. My wife was in the crowd, and I made sure, I told her, just record the anthem as I'm walking onto the field, because I want to have that anthem recorded for all time for my first game. So that was memorable. The game at PSG, we tied 1-1. That was memorable. My first win in Champions League was home against Zenit. I'll never forget that. I had the assist to Mbokani, and we won 1-0. My first goal in Champions League at Olympiacos. There are so many. Every Champions League game to me was always special. And then every season, I don't know if I told anybody this, but every season I played in Champions League, I always stole one match ball from that season. And I have them lined up in my house now with the date and the name of the game on it. And those are something that I'm very excited to show my kids one day when they understand what Champions League is.
Don't forget, you scored in your first European game, in your first game actually, against New Saints in Wrexham. Yeah,
that was a memorable game for me too. It was fun, those qualifying games, although we were a much better team than the New Saints, it's always a challenge. And then 5 minutes into my debut, I scored my first European goal. That was pretty special.
A game I will never forget with you is the 3-3 draw at Arsenal, where we came back from a 3-0 defeat, and you had the foot in one of the goals, right?
The penalty, I played the ball into Mitrovic, who, I played him a good ball. He was holding up his defender, and of course he was brought down for a penalty. The thing I will always remember from that game is when it became 3-2, Besnik made some tactical changes and moved me to center back. And I had only played center back once in my life when I was really young. So I was very nervous that they were going to maybe hit us on a counterattack and come down. But I think it was me and Leander Den Donker playing center back in the end. And we were pushing everybody forward, going for that last goal. And then Mitrovic headed it in. And what a feeling. That was such an awesome game. That's a game all of us will never forget. I think the Anderlecht fans that were there will never forget, and all us players will never forget.
Do you still have contacts with your former teammates? Because I remember that group was incredibly tight. It was a really good group of friends, and you had a lot of parties with them, and gatherings and meetings. Do you still have contact with some of them?
Yeah, that was a really special group. And whenever you win something, I think it brings your group even closer together. So I still have contact with a lot of guys. So Berang Safari was probably my closest friend during my time at Anderlecht. So I still keep in contact with him. A lot of guys, actually. I just spoke to Oli de Skacht a few days ago to congratulate him on signing for one more year. This guy's never going to retire. Tom de Suter also just retired, so I spoke to him as well. Keep in touch with Tom. I saw him when I came to Belgium. Silvio Proto and Guillaume Gillet, I still keep in touch with every so often. Dennis O'Doy, who's now playing in London. I visited him in London 2 years ago when we came to Europe. Dennis Pratt as well. So Dennis Pratt came to Orlando last year on vacation with his friends. So I took him out for dinner, him and his buddies, all of the Belgian guys. And now I'm a big Leicester City fan, so I get to watch Dennis and Yuri Tielemans playing whenever they're on TV here in the States, because the Premier League games are on TV every weekend. I'm trying to think who else. Every once in a while, Roland Newhash and Wazil also keeping in touch with them. So a lot of guys. It was a great group of guys I enjoyed playing with, and I'm really happy that we were able to keep in contact still.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I should say, just yesterday, I actually exchanged message with Daniel Renders and Ariel Jacobs. So it was nice to get in touch with my old coaches, people who had a positive impact on my life and were very good guys. So it was really nice to speak to them again.
You played with a lot of upcoming youngsters at that time. What do you think makes difference with us? Because why is our academy better than others?
I don't know. So when I was a player, you don't think about these things. You just see these young kids coming. But now as I get older, you think about, if you're going to become a coach, how important the academy is and how important it is to bring these guys who have the DNA of the club inside them since they were little kids. The impressive thing for me was every year there were just more kids coming. There were guys coming from the second team, from the under-17s, from the under-19s, coming to play with the first team, and they weren't scared. They had personality. So the two biggest ones for me while I was there was Yuri Tielemans and Dennis Pratt. They had the quality right away. They had the level, but they also had the personality and the mentality to be big players for Anderlecht at a young age. So even now when I'm following the team early in this season, there were a lot of youngsters that were playing. Of course, the results weren't great in the last 2 years, but I think that they're building something special, especially with all the young guys, that I think it will be sustainable for a long time, like it always has been at Anderlecht.
Just to finish this interview, what do you remember from Belgium and Brussels? What will you never forget?
Of course, the football part I'll never forget. Winning titles I'll never forget. Making friends that stay with me for a lifetime, that's something special. My daughter was born in Belgium, so she knows she's a Brussels girl. She tells everybody she was born in Brussels, and it will always hold a special place in my heart because it was really some of the best years of not only my career but of my life also. And I miss it, I see on Instagram all the time my friends in Brussels and how beautiful the city is and all the great restaurants that I used to enjoy. It was a really special time.
Just to end this interview, do you have a message for the fans? Because you were extremely popular at the time.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you to all the Anderlecht fans, as always, for your support during my time in Belgium and even beyond. So I still get messages on Twitter and Instagram from many people in Belgium. you know, I always hold Anderlecht in my heart dear. So thank you guys for always supporting me. And then, of course, continue to support the team. I know the last 2 years has not been what you're used to as an Anderlecht fan, what you're used to being a champion every other year, but it's coming back, don't worry. And I believe you guys are believing in the process that the Anderlecht heads are doing right now, and you will be champion again soon. And I'm still a supporter of Anderlecht as well. So thank you.
And on my part, thank you in their name already. You will always be welcome, and thank you very, very much to do this.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, David. I appreciate it.